So working on this oak tree that I chopped down a couple weeks back now. Um, I'm using this oak log for a piece of my shave horse. It's going to be the top piece that you clamp your work onto when you're sitting at the shave horse. Um, I kind of wish I would have noticed sooner, but the log had just a little tiny bit of twist in there, and that twist winded up giving me a lot of problems. And in fact, I might end up taking it off and replacing it yet. I just don't know. Um, Anytime I can get Gigi using the tractor while I'm working, I'll get her on there. So she's just carrying the logs over there for me. And if she can, she'll take the long way. Brownie is still pretty new to being around the tractor. My fear is that she'll get in front of the tractor and think it'll stop or something. You know, like when you walk in front of it, and she cuts you off while you're walking, you stop. But this tractor doesn't stop like that. But so I got it out, and I'm just trying to flatten it somewhat. Like I said, it had a bit of a twist in it, and I just couldn't really get it out with the planer. But I did get it down pretty flat, and for what I'm trying to do, I think it'll suffice. So ran this thing through. This thing probably weighed about 50 pounds. This oak is very heavy, but oh, there she is sitting on top now. We fire up the chainsaw, and I gotta make a cut that goes through the center. I already cut the hole in the bench. Now I just got to cut the hole in this piece to line up with the bench hole. And it just allows the shaft that you clamp the work with, it allows that shaft to go up and down all the way to the ground where your feet will be. The piece I just set on top was the one I cut yesterday, but while cleaning up my cuts, I got a little carried away and I sliced it open, so it was no good. Which is why I'm making another one. In hindsight, it might have been best to just grab like a 2x12 or something for this part. I'm not going for aesthetics so much as I am for function. I just need a fourth hand, and that's what this shave horse will do. It'll free up my hands, and I can work with the tools on the project a little easier. One of the biggest things that's frustrating is when you're working with a piece and you have to constantly turn it. And like if usually I got to clamp down, so I'm undoing the clamp, turning the piece, clamping it back down, and it's just very frustrating. It's very hard to flow with your work. With this, it's so fast to just rotate your workpiece and you know keep moving right along. It's pretty comfortable to work at. Once I get the posts on I'll call them foot pegs. How about that? Once I get the foot pegs on and I can rest my feet, it'll be even more comfortable. And then it's just a matter of my feet, the weight of my legs really holding the piece down. And then you can work on it with two hands. So that the piece I'm cutting right now is that center piece. It looks like a mushroom but skinny, tall and skinny. And like I said, the shaft just goes through those two pieces of wood, and then on top of that shaft is a basically just a block of wood, and that's what clamps down onto your piece of work. Desperately got to sharpen my chain. I keep saying, well, I only got to do this little cut. I only got to do one or two little cuts. I don't. No, man, I got to get it sharpened. Normally, I'm pretty good because it's, as you can see, it's frustrating and it's time consuming to do all this cutting with the dull chainsaw. When I'm doing this type of stuff, it's when I really wish I would have had the, like I said, the sharp chain, even more so than when I'm bucking up a tree or anything. You know, I'm working in a very odd position, and like I said, with the dull chain, it just makes things that much more precarious. But whatever. This was kind of tricky because it didn't have the weight it needed to hold itself down. But ironically, once this shave horse is done, I could have used the shave horse to help make a lot of this bench. So I may revisit this project and do another one. And now that I got the shave horse, I can do some better legs, and I can do like the centerpiece. I can make a nicer cut on that and just do a little bit better job on the top half of the shave horse. There, it slides right up and down. You can see it. It looks like a dumbbell lollipop. That's what it looks like. Those little dumbbell ones. Apparently, I need to trim some more. Okay, so I got it set in there. This little wedge just goes underneath, and it allows you to adjust the elevation of that planing surface. So if you want to have it a little lower or a little higher, you could just slide that wedge forward or backwards. I don't have anything pinned down yet, so it's kind of just sitting there to show and to see how it feels. But what I was pondering there was just how much surface area I was going to be left with to work on. The way I ended up leaving it oriented, it was actually a little bit wider at the top, which gave me a little wider work surface. Yeah, I hear you, Steve. So what I did here is I'm gonna peg this board to the bench. Reason being, um, I want to be able to change it out if necessary, and I kind of wanted to keep with I guess, the classic look, if that makes any sense. I don't care what I used to build it. I wasn't trying to build it with just hand tools or anything, but I do want it to look and function as it did when it was in its heyday, so to speak. And a couple good pins made of wood, it'll hold it just fine. That noise you heard was the uh, hammer drill kicking in. I have a hammer drill function on there, and it was trying to engage. I must have had to collar over a little far. And again, in hindsight, I think I would have used oak pegs. I went with a softer wood because it split easier and it was nice and dry. But as you can hear, it sounds rather fragile, but I pounded them in, and I think it'll hold it for what I'm doing. And I like to remind folks, this isn't a how-to. I barely know how to. I certainly don't know how to teach people. So, but I have no problem with folks seeing how I do it, and maybe being able to glean something and make it on their own. Quite honestly, it's a pretty easy project. The first one I built in a day, and it was just really hastily put together, and I used screws and stuff on it, but it worked, and it worked great. This one, like I said, the legs I put in, and then I pegged those, and then I'm pegging this piece down. And then when I put the foot pedal on, I'll peg that through the shaft of the like the foot pedal part. It had a lot of wiggle in it, and I just wasn't happy with it. Incidentally, when I lift this up to the angle it needs to be at, it will actually make those pegs a little tighter, because then the holes become offset versus being straight up and down. And it's not a terribly functioning tight part. Usually you just set it and leave it at the one height, unless you're doing something very large and you want it lower. That's about it. I mean, I don't really see myself going higher with it. So time to sharpen that little hatchet again. The hatchet is probably, boy, 30 years old at least. Just one of those little old Coleman hatchets. Yeah, I don't like that. So it's ended up seating pretty well once I really hammered those pegs in. But it's just the tiniest bit twisted. I'll see if that poses any issues. It may not. It may actually give me an advantage, because I'll have one side that is higher than the other. And for subtle changes, that might work to my advantage. If I just need to adjust it a half inch, well, I could just go to the other side of the tool. So that piece I just hammered in is the one that I still got to put foot pedal on. What's kind of nice is I'll do this a lot. Like there's a lot of finishing stuff that I will just leave, and what ultimately happens is I'll set up to work, and maybe I'll spend 10 minutes cleaning things up and chiseling and scraping some wood, or on the opposite end I may work, and then as I'm picking up I'll may stay a little longer and just kind of pick at it and clean it up a little bit. So the lower bench and the four legs is very, very sturdy. That piece I'm banging on right now, I don't have the greatest hopes for. Well, that's that on that end. Um, so for me, just under 5 feet is a good size bench. Each person will be a little bit different. It really depends on your arm and your leg length. You don't want to be right up against the piece. You want to be set back a little bit so you could work. But you also don't want it to be so short that you can't, even reach. Okay. So I just wanted to give you a quick little demonstration how this one works. You lift up this portion with your feet, and I gotta put a peg in like this so I can lift it better. But so you lift it up, you slide your work in there, starting to drizzle. I got a small set of carving knives here, and then what you would do with your knife is draw it in like this, making your carves. And it's real easy to quickly turn and go ahead and get back to carving. Now I'm doing this with a straight knife. What you would ideally use is a spoke shave knife, a draw knife. So if I want to tighten, all I do is push forward on that bottom piece, and that piece will snug up in there. And then I lift off, I can turn it. So it just allows you to work hands-free, much easier. And this is why having a spoke or a shave horse allows you to do spoons and legs and stuff, just how easy and fast it is to turn your piece. What I was talking about yesterday with the workflow, you can see how my progress could flow nice and easily. I'm not interrupted by undoing the clamp every couple seconds. When you start to get into a rhythm, the sounds will all start to come together. You got the of the knife, you got the squeak and the creak of the wood. Let's listen one time. There's a rhythm you can develop, and it's just pleasant to work on. So I hope this is a little better demonstration for folks. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up today, and then I'll have this machine in my arsenal to do some more carving with. Got to get myself a draw knife, but this would be a great little peg. So that's it. You make these great little shavings, which are great for kindling. But it's a very primitive looking device, but it's a very useful and capable machine. Alright, I'm getting back inside. I'm going to have some coffee. starting to drizzle.